Hello, hello.
Good morning, sir.
Ha. So I hope you have tried to make maximum understanding of the philosophy of existence. With this, I now come to the text of waiting for Godot. And before am I audible properly? Please confirm this once.
Yes, sir, you are.
So great.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, thank you. So let us just talk about certain aspects of waiting for Godot, which is a kind of prerequisite to understand the text itself. The text has been so revolutionary and it has been so much iconoclastic, or it has been so much with the avant garde practice that it is difficult for me to make a proper beginning, because this proper beginning is the concept of whatever we know in terms of well built, well made play, which has a proper beginning, proper middle, and proper end. But this play simply doesn't follow the path of and doesn't fit into the category of what we commonly refer as well made play. It's not a traditional well made play, but though it's a well made play, but not as we primarily think of the being of a well made play. See, the point is, whenever we read a play, suppose an older play like the plays of Shakespeare or uh, plays of Webster or plays of ancient Greco-Roman masters or even the plays of comedy of manners and sentimentality. So at least one thing is there that you know something beforehand in terms of the background, in terms of happening, uh, a basic structure, which I said involves the smooth linear transition from something to something else, involving a proper beginning, middle, and end. And while observing the causal relationship, not the casual, causal relationship between the things and sequences and incidents happening in the play. A linear structure, a well considered plot, whereby adhering to all the popular norms of how to write a play and how to evolve it, how the characters will come and what will be the form of their dialogues, right? And the linear structure. So, and the typical, if you talk about the genre of tragedy as it is being defined by uh, Aristotle in terms of tragedy being an imitation of an action that's serious, complete, and of certain magnitude, language embellished with certain artistic ornaments, right? And each kind being separated from each part in each part of the play, and also that the play is a kind of the action is it's not in narrative but in action. And then we talk about the proper purgation of these emotions in terms of pity and fear, as this is and then six constituents of a tragedy or a play: plot, character, diction, thought, melody, and spectacle, isn't it? Yes. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. And then a very famous definition of drama by by John Dryden, and when he defines drama as an image, he defines drama as an image, right? Just a live image, just an live image of human nature, representing its passions and humors and the changes of fortune to which it is subject for the delight and instruction of mankind. This is the famous definition proposed by, I think, Thucydides in the famous treatise and essay of dramatic poesy. So we have these traditional associations and traditional understandings of a play, of a well made play. But when we look at the play that is waiting for Godot, the things change in tremendous way. The concepts change in a big, very big way. and what are we'll have to understand them. And I am quite hopeful that when I'm taking one thing, already you have become aware of what is most likely to be in terms of the part and parcel of this waiting for Godot, an absurd drama, I promise to send you that article which I have filled drastically, so I shall be sending that in between. Don't worry. Anyway, so waiting for Godot. The first thing is, which I think is important, that when you read a play, while reading a play, you try to make meaning. One tries to make meaning. In most cases, the meaning is almost always given that this is a story of this kind. So you have a well established, received system of thought, and accordingly you approach a text, and then you try to figure out what happened, what will happen, right? But when you begin to read a play like Waiting for Godot, there's only one simple thing, and the one simple thing is full of astonishment, full of wonder, full of shock, and that is, what is happening? क्या हो रहा है बाबा, ये क्या हो रहा है? Something like that. What is happening? Right? Are you getting me? What is happening?
Yes, sir.
Because you begin to read a play with two characters talking abrupt, talking illogical, talking irregular, and talking of something which you might not have talked. You might not have talking characters. You might not have found characters talking in this way in your earlier reading of plays. So the first thing is what? What is happening? What is happening? And with each pages and each dialogue, you have the same question: what is happening? The play comes to an end. You two come to an end with the question: what is happening? With the newer question, with the italics: what has happened? Did anything happen? Getting now? So the world view, the previous prevailing world view that something must happen. There should be a concrete perspective. There should be solid characters, round characters. There should be instruction, as he says, Dryden, that for the delight and instruction, there should be delight. You are being delighted, but in an unusual way. You are being instructed, but in an unusual way. So what is happening with two? What has happened? But the what has happened to is full of italics, full of question marks, 5, 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 question marks. The next thing is, out of this very incident, out of this very instance example, the next thing is, whenever you read a play or a novel of different sort, not this sort, different sort means previous type of things in that way. So you go in the pursuit of a meaning The meaning that is clear cut, well expressed, well rendered, well communicated. You read the text, you read the work of art, huh? You read the work of art, you get the meaning, and then you feel happy, elated. And almost all the readers arrive at a mutually consented meaning. So you read a play of Shakespeare, Twelfth Night. So you have disguise, you have illusion, you have mask, you have triangle of story, and you have the things clear, right? Almost accepted. All the readers, all the students may have a similar opinion. But when you read a play like Waiting for Godot, this unified spectacle, this very aspect of unification, that what the character are saying, what the characters are saying, and what the writer is saying in the text, that is going equally, that is going to be conceived and consumed by each reader equally. But in Waiting for Godot, this myth is shattered. This myth is broken because each reader approaches the text on its own, on her own, on his own. There is no ready-made solution. There is no ready-made vantage point. Look, it's a romantic comedy. It's a tragic comedy. It's a tragedy. It's a farce. It's a satire. Right? There is no pre-labeling available. So if Anushka approaches the text, Akshita approaches the text, Priyanka approaches the text, Prachi approaches the text, Saurabh approaches the text, each approach will be different. Because each one of us has been given something which do not apply here, which do not get along with Waiting for Godot. That's why meaning becomes ambiguous and meaning becomes multi-layered because you don't associate yourself with the characters, right? You don't usually associate with. You don't find you don't find these characters amicable, or to be friended with, as if you know them. So you read Twelfth Night, you read Viola, and you know, okay, Viola could be me. Hmm? I could be the victim of first sight love. I could be in place of her in the search of my lost brother. I could be the messenger of love to somebody who will begin to love me. I can no, you have, and you can easily associate yourself with Viola, Orsino, even Judges of Malfi. But here, you don't find them acceptable easily. At first access, at first approach, at first reading, you don't find them with you, traveling with you, talking with you, walking with you, and making yourself comfortable. No. So you have to have your own meanings, and you don't have any ready-made pre-given meaning. Look, you have this meaning, you have this perspective, apply it on the text, and you may have the meaning found. Huh? Here, each one of you has her own perspective, has her own idea, has her own understanding of Vladimir or Astragon or Lucky or Pozo. But don't worry, we will try to find out the common grounds, and this is what I shall be doing primarily. I shall be giving you space enough to think that on your own. At the same time, I shall be primarily talking about how to reach to a common consensus ground कुछ बात तो कर ले भाई, नहीं तो तुम अपना कहो मैं अपना कहूँ, जो हो चुका। तो तुम खुद पढ़ो मैं खुद पढ़ूं, काम खत्म करो। हैप्पी दीपावली। राइट। सो डोंट वरी, यू शैल नॉट डू दैट। राइट। नेक्स्ट थिंग इज next thing is the play presents characters and present situations, which I have just said are against the grain. So it also implies that the characters presented on the stage, the situations presented on the stage, the events presented on the stage, and the things things presented on the stage. Things, we have been talking of things in a greater way, in the sense of philosophy, in that way. So they are there, no issue, but their presence is at list. At list, come se come. We don't have plethora of characters, right? How many characters we have? Five characters. How many acts we have? Two acts. So neither we have so many acts and scenes, nor we have so many characters, nor they are clothed properly, nor do they do have something sumptuous to eat, pizza and chow mein, something like that, malai peda rabdi, right? What do they eat? Gajar muli chukandar. Huh? So look at that minimality, the list. They don't have pair of clothes, huh? Two pair of clothes or three pair of clothes, which they might change from the beginning, if afternoon, second, third, fourth, as it is done in Hindi cinema. When I was child, when I started watching cinema first, I used to wonder how in a single song sequence a heroine gets into changing of different clothes. कब बदलती है कपड़ा, समय कहाँ मिलता है उसको? तो केवल नाचती रहती है, वो बीच कपड़ा कब बदल लेती है मुझे समझ नहीं आता है। There's one very important concept of Mikhail Bakhtin, chronotope. Chronotope. Chronotope means chrono. Chrono means chron means space. Type. Tope means time. It means this simple. You might have seen several romantic cinemas, and there the hero never gets old. The heroine never gets old. They are similar, same, almost throughout all the 3 hours and 4 to 5 to 6 hours. They never get old. They have the vigor, vitality intact, right? And a typical Bollywood song, a typical Bollywood film located in Mumbai slums, based on Mumbai slums, and all of a sudden, the hero and heroine visit Mauritius and Alaska. सुनता है मेरा खुदा। हाँ, देन अलास्का पे गाना होने लगता है, पता नहीं कैसे वहां पहुंच जाते हैं सब। बताइए, फिल्म है मुंबई के चौल पे, स्लम डॉग मिलियनेयर पे, और गाना हो रहा है चंद्रमा पे। ये भी होता है नहीं? हैव यू नोटिस इट और नॉट यार? दिस इज व्हाट ही सेज, chronotype, suspension of time and space both. Suspension of time and space both. Anyway, it's a passing reference. क्या कह रहा था? हाँ, minimal, at least. It means when you have a minimal things, na, You don't have that sophistication, you don't have that pretension, you don't have that hypocrisy. And all the characters here, they should be conceived as devoid of any hypocrisy, any affectation, any sophistication, and they are true to themselves. They are true to themselves. They are presented as authentic. And we have been considering this word authentic existence, time and again. Just think about, you have a full community life out of corona times. You have a routine life, going to the college, and then straight away to the canteen, meeting with friends, and then chatting, attending classes, bunking classes, talking, giggling, laughing. That's all great. But just imagine any of you, in terms of somebody else, only two of you living together, not in a home, not in a house, while having mobile phone in the hands, or having remote in the hands, and then Tata Sky or Airtel TV subscribed, Netflix subscribed, and then only two of you in that situation, what would you do? You don't have Amazon Prime, you don't have Netflix, you don't have Hotstar, you don't have any of these things. You don't have enough clothes to change, you don't have any enough hats to change, you don't have enough boots to change, you don't have enough food to eat, you don't have enough, you are just having in the meagers. And then your true self will come out. You are just out of the essences. Huh? You are just devoid of your natural surrounding way. So this play in that way turns out to be a play which is all about not being pretentious, not being hypocrite, not being sophisticated, just being as far as original as possible, as authentic as possible, as real as possible, as genuine as possible. Waiting for Godot. Huh? So at least Hamlet had an objective to kill somebody. Huh? Othello has a king and he has to follow him, and Othello has his wife and who has turned out to be an adulterous relationship. Then there's an objective. Look at all that. At least they have something immediate to be done, to be performed. But in here, look at the minimal essences, minimal requirements. Now, what will they do? How would they live? How would they perform? What would they do to pass the time? How would they survive? Am I understandable?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right? Out of these things, when I say that all of you may have your own meanings of the play, of the text, the meaning is more clear, more perspicuous when you understand that we, the readers, are hypocrite, we, the readers, are pretentious, at least with the readers having a laptop and sofa set, and I had water, and I had enough water, and I had enough as breakfast, and I'm likely to have my dinner well. But what about these characters in that way? So you, when you read uh, this text, your ready-made assumptions, your received assumptions, your your learning outcomes. So I mean, in that way, your learning outcomes, they all will be thwarted. They all will be shattered. They all will be dashed into kind of a broken state of life. So if you have your own worldview intact, if you have your own sense intact, you might not understand a single bit of the text. In order to understand the text, you'll have to be as minimal as possible, at least in your imagination, if not in action, at least from your brain. I'm not asking you not to eat food for 5 to 6 days as long as we are going to have the text. No, I'm not saying that. Take proper bath, take proper food and breakfast. But please think, use your brain, and you might, and then when you use your brain in terms of imagination, and when you just begin to think of these characters as I am asking to think, then only you can try to make a sense of the play. Waiting for Godot. Then only. Otherwise, you will not. Otherwise, you will read the text in 1 hour only, as it has having two acts, small statements, small dialogues. You read the play, you end the play, and you just throw it. बकवास, ये लोग क्या क्या लिख देते हैं, लोग क्या क्या छाप देते हैं, लोग क्या क्या प्रेस्क्राइब कर देते हैं पढ़ने के लिए. इसमें कुछ मजे नहीं आया, इसमें कुछ हुआ ही नहीं. दो ठो लोग थे, वो खड़े थे, किसी का इंतजार कर रहे थे, वही पे नहीं किया, अब फिर वो सब खड़े ही हैं अभी तक. It can be a possibility, but when if you apply my suggestions, you might not have this kind of impression after reading the text. You might have different kind of impression. I am quite hopeful of that. Right. So waiting for Godot must be read. Um, must be read in the light of the autobiography, in the light of the real life events of the playwright Samuel Beckett with double T. And you must know that Samuel Beckett was an Irish and he came to France, right? And he had worked as an assistant to James Joyce as well as, right? But when he came to France and he began to write in French, and this idea is very important. What happens when you write in the language which you have learned, acquired from your childhood? And what happens when you write in a language which you have learned and acquired in your adulthood? It means when I write in Hindi, I am most likely to express myself better. Me as not as English teacher. Me as Saurabh as hailing from Hindi hard belt. Right? And I as Saurabh had learned English, let us say, at the later stage of my life. So far I have been writing in Hindi, and after my initiation into England, I just managed to learn some English, Kam Chalaun, and then I begin to write a plain English. Will there be any difference in that? Will there be or not? If what kind of?
Yes, sir.
Hmm. It's quite possible that in Hindi, I could express myself better while maintaining the pomp and show, while maintaining the gravity, and while maintaining the word order, grammar, lexicon, punctuation, emotion. I could. The whole garbage, baggage, right? But the same man, when he or I try to write in French, I may not have abundance of words, plenty of words. Excuse me. I may not have the sense of the decency towards the language, decorum, punctuation. I may not have the command over the language, which might not help me to understand my situation better in a romanticized way, in a grand way. So you write, I write in Hindi, I might write better, grand, enchanted, grave, with beautiful words, beautiful phrases. Eh? But when I write in English or in French, by the way, I may not be that effective. I may not be that effective. It's quite possible that the idea of writing waiting for Godot, originally in French, originally in French, must have supplied the must have must have yes must have enabled the dramatist to write something in an alien tongue while talking about the alienation of mankind. Wow. Alienation in alien tongue, talking about alienation of mankind. Without any pretension, without any hypocrisy, without any affectation, and without any the so-called command over the language. Language as the powerful tool to communicate the feelings and ideas. It could be a conscious decision on part of the playwright to write it in French, not in English in that way. Next important thing is, while talking about his life, as he was in France and he was uh, there in during the Second World War, and you know how Germany attacked France. The Nazis attacked France. And at that time in the Second World War, Samuel Beckett was working as an active member of resistance army of France to resist German onslaught. So when he was working as that, Germans attacked, the Gestapo attacked, and he was forced to run away and to take shelter in a remote French village, working as farm laborer along with his so-called girlfriend Suzanne, which later on turned out to be his wife. So his personal experience of being the victim of Second World War, being the victim of dislocation and displacement, right? And himself was making a wander of the whole the pastures and the rustic life, desolate life of desolate structure of ruined structures of France, hiding hiding in day, right? And hiding in daylight, okay, and sleeping in the hay thatches in the mud in the night. with minimal to eat, maybe radish or garlic or turnip or carrot, not more than that. Second World War, runaway bride and bridegroom, would be bride and bridegroom, Suzanne and Samuel Beckett. Are you getting the idea? And this all we can see easily in Waiting for Godot. Okay. The next thing is the very idea of language, the idea of intact being, intact state of being, differentiates Samuel Beckett from the writers of high modernism, Eliot, Yeats, Virginia Woolf, D.H. Lawrence. Yeats, W.B. Yeats, Virginia Woolf, Lawrence, Eliot, they all talk about the panorama of anarchy and futility, which we may also find in Waiting for Godot. No issue. But as far as the language use is concerned, how can you express your desire in a better way? How can you express your instinct or desire to bring a pattern to the chaos in an emphatic way? Of course, the first thing you need is language. Command over language. So we have Virginia Woolf, command over English language. We have Eliot, command. We have W.B. Yeats. We have D.S. Lawrence, command. They do talk about something that is not good, that is not right, that is chaotic, that is just in mess. But the overdose of language hides that, conceals that. So you read, we have just read Waiting for Godot, and we have just been talking about different layers of panorama of futility and anarchy and mess and disorder, nothing with nothingness. But at least we could see Eliot taking recourse to some beautiful lines, some beautiful set of lexicals, which we may not find in Waiting for Godot. Virginia Woolf talks about the impact of First World War, the kind of sanity, insanity, life and death, personal and society, be it the waves, be it to the lighthouse, be it Mrs. Dalloway. But at least we could also find in her the use of language with utmost dexterity, with utmost clarity and precision, which we won't find here in Waiting for Godot. Because of that, I just discussed English and French in that way. The next important thing is when we consider Suzanne and Samuel Beckett wandering, roaming helplessly, only two of them loitering around the ruined landscape of French and eating turnip, garlic, other sorts of small things. What could be their ultimate dream? What could be their ultimate objective of life in that time? Will that not be a kind of waiting for the German troops to retreat, waiting for the end of the Second World War, waiting of the end of waiting as far as their wandering and loitering here there is concerned, end of their eating of turnip and other sorts of things, and waiting for a new hope, new dawn, new morning, waiting for Godot. Just think about that. We can't imagine that. Just think about the Second World War, the bomb falling everywhere around you, and you have been made to run away, and you are made to hide yourself under the day sunlight, and you are made to sleep in the night in the haze and mud and thatches. Oh, how romantic! Is it romantic at all? Perhaps no. Just think about it, and then only you can try to understand waiting for Godot. When this Waiting for Godot was first premiered and shown in America in a jail. I'm forgetting the name of the jail. I will let you know. Don't worry. Prisoners were just awestruck, and they could grasp the meaning at the very first premiere, because it showed their own waiting to release, waiting for freedom, as if they are in prison, having nothing to eat much, having no people to talk to, no shoulders, no arms, no emotional and other sustenances, right? No family members, no worldview intact, and waiting for, oh my God, हम कब इस जेल से आजाद होंगे, हम कब घर जाएंगे, हम कब खाना खाएंगे, हम कब मुक्त होंगे. And the eyes were full of tears, as if they have understood the play at the very first attempt. Getting? So you read the play, and you read the play as you have felt, as you have experienced, as you have gathered, as you have undergone. The play is a postmodern play, at least in one strict sense. And I'm quite sure that you don't have any doubt about the play being existential play. Do you have any doubt about that? Perhaps no, you shouldn't have, at least now. Right? If anybody has, we'll talk later. But anyway, post-modern play. At least one, at least in one strictest sense. And that is the concept of the postmodernist thinker, the thinker who has talked about the loss of grand narrative, Lyotard. Lyotard. Grand narrative. At the very start of my class today, I talked about well-made play, well-made novel, well-written. Mahabharata is well-written. Delight, mirth, entertainment, instruction, morality, values, seek. क्या सीखे? Grand narrative. Mahabharata offers something valid, something authentic, something we need, something that is required. Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Dharma Yoga, eh? Gita, which most of you would be reading every day, I don't know. But you have this high narrative, high, grand narrative. Grand narrative, which explicates the situation in a better way, and which not merely explicates the situation, it also provides a proper solution. So Arjun has a problem, so Krishna is there to give the solution. Eh? The things are clear cut, grand narrative. Poetry as criticism of life, as propounded by Matthew Arnold, right? High seriousness, touchstone method, grand narrative. What about waiting for Godot. Does it have the possibility to have a grand narrative like Mahabharata and Ramayana, Gita, Quran, Bible, or Aeneid, Virgil's Aeneid, or Homer's Iliad and Odyssey, where small characters, true tramps, the clothes are torn, the boots aren't all torn, they have nothing to eat, nothing to move, nothing to do. Grand narrative is lost. Small people, small aspirations, small hopes, small narrative, right? So at least in that sense, do we have other approaches as well? Fractured self, fractured identities, yes. But Lyotard's concept of grand narrative is certainly applied here, and we can clearly say that look, we don't have a grand narrative. We can talk of grand narrative waiting for Godot in the wasteland. It's a grand narrative, isn't it? Tradition is intact, past is intact, future is intact, and we have the writer and a cosmopolitan writer, right? Who situates himself in history and he quotes from here, there, from everywhere, right? And gives us, oh, look, this is for you, dear. Take it, enjoy it. Tathastu. We don't have these in waiting for Godot. We don't have waiting for Godot. We don't have any space to take waiting for Godot in the traditional sense to be a grand narrative. Small little narrative which talks about the things which are really genuine to us in the absence of the essences, minimal things, and when we shall be talking of all these things and thinking of all these things, and while remembering all these things, when we try to make study of the text, maybe we can be in a better position to make maximum of waiting for Godot. That's all for today. ठीक है? Okay?
Okay, sir.
So we shall meet tomorrow. Yes?
Yes, sir.
दीपावली की छुट्टी कब मनाएंगे आप लोग? कल की परसों? अरे कब मनाएंगे भाई? बताएंगे तो बताएंगे ना.
तो जब से आप दे देंगे तब से छुट्टी हो जाएगी.
बाप रे. और मैडम लोग क्या कर रही हो, कब देंगी?
सर अभी किसी ने
उनका
कुछ
क्या विचार है?
सर किसी ने कुछ बताया नहीं है.
गुड गुड, वेरी गुड. चलिए, let us have ourselves let us make ourselves ready for tomorrow, right? If something happens in between, you shall be intimated properly. But please do read the text, and we shall begin the text not line by line because it's technically impossible. So I would request you to read, let us say, the first act. The first act. You come up with your own ideas, and I shall be helping you to understand. You help me too. So it would be a kind of Vladimir at one side and Estoc on that side, because all of you are separated from each other. Right? So that's all for today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.